Hello, welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 203. I'm one of your hosts, Carl, and as always, I'm joined by a man who likes his women the same as his coffee, smoking hot and all over his lap while he's driving.
Yeah, that's a great joke.
Tony Bloody! Dan. Ooh, disco moves. I like it. I thought you call,
Also, you're looking very...
calling an elevator.
Yeah, I'm just a bit too short for the buttons though. But you've got some nice looking hair today, mate. Although,
Thanks.
do I detect a bit of grey at the front, or is that just light?
I mean, it's probably light, but...
Yeah, I think it is actually, yeah. I thought you had some, like, cool grey streaks.
Is that better? I am going grey. I got some grey at the side.
Oh, you have as well? That's one thing you've definitely got me beat on, mate. I haven't got any greys yet.
It's,
Probably that kid.
the easiest way to get grey hair is to have a child.
And a dog that won't shut the fuck up.
I know, yeah.
I can hear him grumbling already. Jesus Christ. We've literally been talking for about an hour. Nothing. Literally nothing. As soon as we start.
Every single time.
Every time.
Without fail.
Son of a gun.
Joking. Anyway, I'm fine. I've got a bit of a cold. Stupid kids, again.
Oh dear. Yeah, great.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm glad we didn't do this podcast this morning because I was friend of the show, Rick. It was his sort of wedding and do on Saturday. So congrats to him. Firstly, well done.
Big congratulations.
But I wasn't, as I told him as I got there, pretty much. I was just like, I'm not staying long. Like, it's your family and your missus' family, but then I sort of, it's a couple of people that I used to work with, my old housemate, and I was like, maybe there's a reason to stay a bit longer. This is cool. Ends up staying there for about 5.5 hours or so.
Which is quite a long time.
Which is quite long. Drank quite a lot of whiskey. Wasn't pissed, but just at that beautiful point where you just sort of like, all the things that would irritate me, but they're not. And
Yeah.
this is just a great conversation, and I've missed this guy. Genuinely, I think it was one of the more sort of pleasant experiences I've had going to a wedding, because more often than not, I think it's just because maybe I'm just not getting pissed enough. But I'm just sort of like, it's just like, God, there's a group of people there that's irritating me. There's a thing that's happened. The music's too shit, and like it just sort of like, I just give me any reason to get out of here.
You had to stand in the rain at my wedding, so...
The rain I can tolerate.
It was just everybody else there.
To a certain degree, though. But yeah, when I was up yesterday, so Sunday, I was just sat at my PC all day, pretty much. I don't think I got up until like 3:30 anyway.
That's not massively out of the ordinary for you.
Not really, but I did feel like I lost quite a lot of the day. I think I was just knackered because I was just excited. But then I don't think I said anything on Sunday, and then today I was back at work, and I was on the phone with someone. I was like, "Hello," and he was like, "You all right?" And he was like, "You feel like?" Because he thought I was sick. I was like, "No, I'm totally fine. It's just my throat is completely fucked. I just couldn't talk properly. It's still a bit gravelly at the moment, but way better." Do you know what helps? Diet Coke. Cheers.
You're welcome. I'm glad I got it, now.
This podcast sponsored by the conglomerate Coca.
Who?
But giant worldwide conglomerate.
No. So the mic cut off.
You must have heard of them.
So you just went.
You know what I mean. It's fine. But yeah, not bad at all.
Good. This week's episode is brought to you by Catherine Averill Artwork. If you're looking for a special personal gift, or even something just for yourself, then a stunning commission art piece by Catherine Averill Artwork will make an excellent gift, especially coming up to Christmas. With beautiful pieces created in pastel, coloured pencil or graphite, give someone you love or treat yourself to an amazing commission piece. Full links in the description, and check out the stunning galleries at catherineaverillartwork.co.uk. Anyway, congratulations aside, we got some stuff to talk about, Dan. Some real important stuff.
Lay it on me.
Whether you want to or not. You already know about the first bit because you told me. You've already forgotten. Hitmonkey coming to Hulu.
Oh, right, yeah. So yeah, we actually got a trailer. Did you know this was in the works at all?
Not a peep.
Neither
Not a
did
peep.
I. And interestingly enough, every now and then, everyone loves their Lego games. Everyone loves them. But I reinstalled the Lego Batman games. Mainly for the fact that I still just can't. I don't know what it is about it, but in Lego Batman 2, when you fly around as Superman, it plays the John Williams Superman score.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I played that, completed those, and then reinstalled Avengers 2, Marvel's Avengers 2. And I've obviously completed the campaign for that, and I'm just going around just collecting all of the sort of the grindy puzzle pieces and all that kind of stuff. And I was, kind of going to like all the random sort of things. So ultimately, I'm looking for the Punisher, because you find the character, you do a thing for them, then you can buy them. Still haven't found him, I don't think. But I came across Hitmonkey in his little suit, and I was like, what the fuck's this about? And then like you go off and do some like martial arts stuff or whatever. And I was just like, oh, that's a weird character. I've never seen that character before. That's a bit of an odd one. And then today I was just on Instagram or whatever, and it was just like Hitmonkey the show, and I was like,
what the fucking hell? You need to stop doing this, Dan. Games Master, Hitmonkey.
Right, that is beyond me, right? Because I wasn't prompted into. I didn't see a thing and go, oh, well, that's interesting. But for people who don't know, and probably I imagine it was only in the UK.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's just a UK thing.
In the sort of early to mid 90s, I'd say it was. There was a show called Games Master, which was like as British as it comes. There'd be sort of like a reasonably kind of like, oh, I'm down with the kids kind of posh fella who definitely wasn't. And they get people on and they do like Mario Kart tournaments and that kind of stuff and speedruns and talk about games, and then just have like, honestly, I don't know if you watched that full clip.
Yeah.
I did, you right. So it got to a point where it's just like, oh, here's a new game that's coming out. So this way before your YouTube days and all that sort of stuff and your reviewers. No, this is where you go to get your content from. It was a magazine and everything as well. But it was just the most nerdy looking fellas you've ever seen who are going, yeah, well, the graphics were all right. It's just like, oh my God, this is why no one took this industry seriously for like 30 years, because these fellas coming on and just saying, probably doing quite a reasonable job of pretty much exactly what anyone would do these days, where you just sort of talk about, what's the vibe on it? Does it seem like it's any good or whatever?
Yeah.
And then the sort of the weird highlight of it all was always Sir Patrick Moore, who's a British astronomer, by the way, not in the game industry whatsoever.
That we know of.
As far as I know, it's not.
Maybe had a dabble in it at some point.
Maybe. I mean, I did see something the other day. I don't know if this is true or not, so it could be absolute horseshit. But he was one of the astronomers who planned out the moon landing site.
Right.
So where they'd actually land on the moon, like he planned out where it would be, or was part of a team who did, or something like that. But anyway, so this guy, if that's true, an astronomer of some renown, at least, and they just sort of weirdly distort his head and like put it in like weird shapes and in helmets or whatever, and then he would like introduce like the next. It was so
bizarre.
Weird. It was like 90s weird, radical, bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Everything's all weird and goopy or whatever, and there was just something that just went in my brain, and I thought about that. And then sent Calla a link to it, just being like, Christ, remember this from like forever ago? And then what was it you saw the other day? It's like, it's coming back? Yeah,
it was like 2 days later, something like that. Or maybe even the next day, I can't remember. But it's being brought back to E4, I think it is. But you know what it's going to be? Yeah, it's going to
be the equivalent of whatever YouTube sort of,
potentially. But you like you're saying, actually back then you got all like the nerdiest nerds you're allowed to put on TV, but now it's going to be Joey Essex and people from this person was on Strictly Come Dancing. It's going to be all celebrities. I guarantee.
I don't think you'd even be celebrities. I think it would just be YouTubers.
Potentially,
I mean that equivalent
they're
of people.
Technically celebrities, aren't they?
No, but not anyone you'd have ever heard of.
No, obviously not.
I reckon that
they're not going to get Markiplier. Potentially. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be like Markiplier and PewDiePie and stuff.
Yeah, the billionaires. No.
I'd say yes.
It's going to be...
but then we don't show up, and we just really disrupt filming.
It's like you should have left it in the 90s, you son of a bitch. But yeah, what a weird thing to bring back out of nowhere. Like, this isn't the right time to do it when the internet is just this free. You know, there's a million people.
I think there was a show called Megabytes that was on Channel 4, but it was on at like 10:30 at night, and it was quite funny. But imagine Eurotrash, but video games, and not naked people.
Eurotrash is something that I'm fairly sure wasn't from Europe.
No,
it was just. It must have only been shown in the UK.
Yeah, it was just for horny fucking teens. That's all it was for.
Yeah, he would stay up like to 11 o'clock or whatever. It was this guy who was either French or he put on a very good French accent.
I think
anyway.
He just put it on.
And he would just talk about all the sort of like weird sort of softcore adverts and shit and weird television shows that were apparently on in Europe or whatever. But I watched the shit out of that.
Yeah, because it was funny. But
yeah, it was the same as Talent on TV. It's just like all these like proper bizarre mental adverts.
Talent on TV was just a way better version of that concept, where it was just brilliant. But this is in a time of like very, very limited internet stuff, if any. And do you know? Like, I used to watch Megabytes and Games Master and any other fucking video game thing that was on, and I didn't have the internet at home when I lived at home with my granddad. So my source of gaming news was on teletext.
Right, for anyone who doesn't know what teletext is,
no, we're not going to get into
it. Someone's granddad just subtitled, just explaining everything that you're on about.
But that's what I'm saying. That's how different it was in the era of Games Master, and now
that's all you had.
You don't need it. We could do a version of Games Master with your head, and it would be the same caliber.
Well, if they're going for like a similar kind of format, who are they going to have as Patrick Moore then? Brian Cox. He's sort of like a famous science kind of
If they go down that route,
to do with games.
He'll probably like Gordon Ramsay or something like that.
He thinks he's talking about his newest kitchen or whatever.
Yeah, they just
splice it all together.
Impose his face. But anyway, so Dan just randomly thought of that, sent me that, and then a few days later, it's coming back. And then playing Lego Marvel, sees this fucking random fucking monkey in a tuxedo. I'm assuming he was in.
Never. Yeah, he absolutely was. Never heard of that character before ever, and then did the unlock for him. And I've used him because he's like a little smaller minifig, but he's quite nimble. And I think he's got guns and stuff as well.
It's not like it's not a character that I could reel off a load of stuff because of my extensive knowledge of it. I know him from popping up in like Deadpool and a couple of the Spider-Man comics. That's as much as my knowledge of Hitmonkey goes. But there's a really cool poster with like with fucking Hitman, Agent 47, with Deadpool and like Domino and like loads of like kind of like Mercs for Hire people, and then Hitmonkey's in that as well. And it's a really cool poster. And I've always like, whenever I see it, I'm like, man, that's a really good piece of fucking artwork. I'm not going to bother delving into the history of these characters though. But that's as far as I know. But it looks like we're kind of getting like an origin story for him. I believe it'll be on Disney Star, like MODOK.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, because it was Hulu.
So
but MODOK was Hulu, but it ended up back on Disney Star.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, I imagine it'll be the same principle as that.
So I'll be honest, I only watched like the first 2 episodes of MODOK, I think. Not that there was anything wrong with it, I wasn't super pulled in. Like, I will definitely go and watch it at some point, and I'm glad that now they'll all be out so I can just binge the whole thing.
I'm probably about 5 or 6 in before I gave up, and again, it wasn't inherently bad. It was just, I don't know, coming off the heels of like WandaVision and Loki and stuff like that.
It felt like a weaker thing, but they're not supposed to be the same.
They're not, but when I enjoy Iron Fist more than I'm enjoying MODOK, then there's something wrong.
Well,
again,
speaking
it's
of Disney Plus, though, we've had another episode of What If, mate.
We have. This is very slowly becoming the What If podcast. Zombies, Marvel zombies. Not the best.
I'll be honest, I was working when I watched it, and I was kind of paying attention.
You didn't need to pay attention.
But, yeah, it's just sort of like...
No, we've had two.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have. We had Marvel Zombies and then Tony Stark.
Oh, with fucking Killmonger instead of Rhodey. Yeah. Fucking hell. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, of course, it's 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
That one I did prefer, but it always comes back to the same thing for me, and I think that's what I think. The more I talk about it, the more I notice it, and the more I notice it, the more it pulls me out of it. But like, Mark Ruffalo was not a good voice actor in the Marvel Zombies thing.
No.
Like Tom Holland seemed like he was kind of like fun and quippy.
Wasn't Tom Holland?
Was he not? Well, that is the best impression
Very,
I've heard.
very good impression, wasn't it? Same as
I have no idea.
Iron Man in the last one.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
Because I could tell it wasn't him. He kind of had sort of like
it wasn't far off.
A little bit.
Wasn't far off. I thought it was a really good impression.
I thought it was all right. I mean, to try and emulate Robert Downey Jr., yeah, it was fine. But I knew it wasn't going to be him because I was like, they're not going to pay him like $1 million to come back and like do a day's work. He'd take it, I'm sure, but they're not going to have the money for it. But like with like some of the like, it's just, I think that's what keeps pulling me out of it. It's not necessarily the story, it's not the animation style, it's not the action or anything like that. It's some people seem to be really quite good at just, you know, being in a voiceover booth and just talking like this and acting. Whereas it feels like others, like they need a set, they need people to do lines with and stuff like that to actually play off each other. And I just really didn't. I don't know. I wasn't really pulled into that whole thing. I don't know what it was about it. Like the Tony Stark Killmonger one was better for sure.
See, I thought that was one of the weaker episodes, if I'm honest.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really buy into it too much. I don't know. There was something quite off about it, and I definitely enjoyed it the least out of all of the episodes so far. The Marvel Zombies one was a fun one, but it's kind of like really not super important plot points, but like not plot points, but stuff that happens during the plot that I'm like, well, why did that happen? Such as when Wasp sacrifices herself and she goes giant and she holds on. Why didn't you shrink yourself before you got infected? Because you know what's going to happen.
You knew that you're going to turn into a gigantic zombie woman.
So, like, you've done it to help your friends. Excellent. You also just pretty much fucking killed them because it was what was going to stop you.
Unless they manage to get out, you are the biggest barrier in the way now.
Vision. Why did Vision take the fucking stone out before they got out?
Well, there was a lot of I think maybe it's just the sort of the weird Disney rule book, but like, you know, there was like they were just like cutting heads off and like, you know, splitting them in half and stuff like that. But it's
they're
like
dead,
it's
they?
fine. They're dead, so it's totally fine. But like Tony Stark getting blown up, I think it was, or shot or something like that. It was like a 1932 film. It goes and like he just drops to the floor, and there's nothing on him whatsoever.
He got stabbed, didn't he?
No, like it was when like there's the bit when he got speared through the shoulder. Oh yeah, and then he just died.
Yeah, didn't do anything else. It's just
really. Unless that was poisoned vibranium.
Maybe.
Say it is.
Never answered. Never
just
answered.
Say it is.
It's like,
but then.
No. Go on.
No, I'm just. This is the thing. It's gotten to the point now where there isn't anything good I can say about it.
I think we've, and obviously I think something big's going to happen. There's going to be like a crossover episode, I assume, coming up. But Marvel Zombies was fine, but it's just kind of like this was your filler episode. But I think this is the one most like people are looking forward to the most. So it's
I think it's more iconic, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
My biggest issue, and I actually said this earlier on today, is the what if gives them such a broad spectrum of stories to choose from, but because they're focusing on the MCU, it narrows it down a lot more. And realistically, outside of the ones we've already had, what's interesting? Iron Man and Cap didn't fall out and Civil War didn't happen. Oh, he didn't make Ultron. Like, there's not a lot you can do within the MCU. Do you know, like? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do, yeah. Like, because the comic averse is just, that's why they have to keep on bringing it together to say, like, it's going too mad now. Like, everyone's been killed or murdered somebody else, and then all their families have been killed, and then they've all been brought back, and like, you just need to have that sort of hard restart all over again. When you're just focusing on events and characters and stories that have happened within a set time frame and films, well, if you do go a bit mental with it, people as in like the mainstream, people who don't know any about this, would they not just get confused immediately? So like with like Loki, say, this is why I think that Loki is one of the best things that they've done outside of their normal film canons, because they've just kind of gone, well, if you don't get it, well, tough. Yeah. They've just gone, there's like multiverses, and this is who Kang is, and no one calls him Kang, but people who know who Kang is. Again, when I started playing the Lego Marvel Avengers thing the other week, this was after Loki had finished. Yeah. And I was playing in it, and then like it's the whole game. Kang is the bad guy in it. And like he brings like all of the sort of the famous places like Spider-Man Noir and like Xandar and all that. He's brought them all together in one big map that you sort of mooch about in. And I was just like, how did I forget that like he was like the big bad in this entire game, and I'd just totally forgotten about him. And then it wasn't until
but that's the one without the X-Men though, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Fantastic Four, they're all gone from it, but it just seemed really odd that with Loki they just sort of said multiverses and time travel within multiverses, multiple versions of Loki, and here's a Thor that's a frog, and like here's all these like weird massive clues, but you'll never get what the fuck is going on unless you know who's going on. It didn't seem quite as handholdy, but with this what if stuff, it's not like they've gone, what if, like Logan maybe, where they said, what if all the mutants died out? What if there was a thing in the water and it stopped any more mutants? What would that be like? And Logan would be a what if story that would come from that. Yeah. For the most part, they've just sort of said, what if in this one film that you've already seen, what if there's one key fact that changes, or someone makes a different decision or something. It doesn't seem quite far reaching, which makes me think now, as with they've done with like Wanda and Bucky and whatever, instead of having 9 individual what if scenarios, just do one and explore that. So if you do like I
do like multiple seasons of it, so this season we're focusing on this.
You do your Marvel Zombies first because it's popular or whatever. So the question being, like, with the I don't know if you'd necessarily agree with this, but the Star-Lord episode is still the best one in my opinion.
I agree and I disagree. I think it's my favorite episode, but I don't think it's I still think the Doctor Strange episode is the best episode in terms of what if, but I definitely enjoyed the T'Challa episode more, the most out of all of them.
But I think though, over the course of those 9 episodes, you had, T'Challa being taken by the Ravagers, and then him talking Thanos and making him a team member, and building up to all that point, then getting the Collector, and then Earth's already been sorted out, so like destroyed or whatever, so he needs to go and help out there, and then it ends with maybe just another question mark, and then season 2 is, well, what if Doctor Strange, he's the government gets killed, and it's exploring that sort of.
I think if they did that
further,
that probably would make the T'Challa one the best one, because my biggest criticism with that one is it's not necessarily it's a what if, it's a roundabout. So it doesn't really go what if T'Challa was Star-Lord. It just goes this is a roundabout way of how he will most likely end up becoming Black Panther still. And obviously that's not how it ends. It ends with obviously they're in Wakanda and he's got his two families. It's like a bloody Christmas with the with everyone around. But I dare say if that went on, he would just become Black Panther.
Or be like Star Panther or something.
Yeah, like probably like an amalgamation of Star-Lord and Black Panther. But in that particular episode, the biggest what if to me was, well, what if Peter went away with his dad and he wasn't a good person? Then that just seems like a far more interesting story for a what if. But it is definitely my favorite episode, and it just kind of just highlights that T'Challa's a far better Star-Lord than Star-Lord is. And
yeah,
there's a lot of really, really good moments, but stuff like you say, like the stuff with Thanos, like that would have been a lot more interesting to have seen that played out rather than just be told that
at what point
talked him out of it.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, so, you know, was he still going around the universe? Was he still killing billions, but by hand, more or less? You know, at what point did their paths cross, and how did he talk him down from that?
Yeah,
like that to me would be more interesting than just like, oh, he's a good guy now, and just sort of make like a throwaway joke kind of thing, which still works. Don't get me wrong, but
it did, because obviously that wasn't the focus of the episode. It was just a similar way to in Civil War when Tony Stark asks Peter like how did you get your powers? It's like, that's a long story, and it's just like an offhanded remark, because we all know what happened. Obviously we don't know what happened with Thanos, but we know what he wanted to do. But the fact that the Avengers couldn't stop him doing it, you're like, well, how did T'Challa just talk to him and make it happen? That would have been really cool. And we got nothing out of it.
I don't know. I just think that there's the more I see, the more I do wish that this was just it was one what if question. Like, because like you say, you could still have these like 9 reasonable scenarios that all happen within this current MCU bubble. But you've got breathing room to help them all air, because then, you know, what if new cool guy, you know, Thanos, what if he finally does get a hold of all of the Infinity Stones, but he realizes that, like, if this is multiverse and there's an infinite number version, you know, infinite versions of me, and they all have the same kind of mentality where they all want to go on a rampage and kill half the universe. Well, I'm the Thanos that's not happy with that, and I changed, and I'm going to go and make them all change. So, you know, what if in your MCU things, Thanos comes back, but it's good Thanos, and he's just like, where's Thanos? Like, I'm here to stop him before he gets out of hand or whatever. Like, that to me would be a more deserved crossover. Yeah. Than just Josh Brolin turning back up again and just be like, I'm good now.
There's got to be some kind of stakes there, and
well, it's like Sylvie in Loki. Like, her coming through into the MCU, I can totally see that happening, and it would be a welcome addition as well.
Yeah, good character, very good character.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like they could have just narrowed this down a little bit more and just focused in on 1 or 2 questions, but that would have those wider ramifications. So get rid of your Captain America one. You know, you're just remaking the same film.
Yeah, it's just First Avenger. They swapped a few things.
But like,
out,
what if instead of doing, you know, you get Captain Carter, what if Red Skull is given the serum, but it works?
Yeah.
And he doesn't turn into Red Skull, and so he's just like, does he become like, he's still a Nazi probably, but, you know, is he, instead of just being like a weird paranormal investigator, is he the Captain America for the Nazis?
Yeah.
Like, does he like single-handedly lead them all to victory or whatever? Like, what does that world look like?
Well, that's what I mean. That's in the same line as the Doctor Strange episode where this is a big thing that could have happened, whereas Captain Carter was she got in the machine instead of Steve. Yeah, that's not a new story.
You know, like the Indiana Jones theory, where it's just like if you actually look at what Indiana Jones does during any of those films, his involvement doesn't actually matter whatsoever.
Yeah,
like all those things are still going to happen whether he's there to intervene or not. So that still would be the same thing. There'd still be a captain whatever, and there'd still be a super soldier with a shield and blah blah blah. Yeah. But if you took it back further and said, you know, what if the super soldier serum was lost to time, you know, and it was given to like Tony Stark, because Howard, you know, presumably helped make this to some degree. So, you know, what if Tony found that formula? So instead of finding that like element thing in the park from like Iron Man 2 or whatever it is, like he finds the soldier serum, and obviously being Tony Stark, he's like, yeah, I'll have some of that, boom. And then he becomes, do you know what I mean? Like there's bigger branching, broader questions than just what if this person just switch roles with this person? That just seems like it's
the lazy episodes. It's like, what if Robin became Batman instead of Batman? It's like, the same thing, just with a different person.
Yeah, it makes actually no difference to the wider world. But in that sense, then I would agree that the Strange one does have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe the T'Challa one with like Thanos hasn't killed half the universe, but Strange destroyed his
all
entire
of the universe.
Like that's pretty bad going.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson to learn, you know.
But that's why
watching him get to that point where he's just sort of breaking down more, and you know, you see what he's prepared to do to get more power and more power. It's like it's the fucking Darth Vader story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
what you do to save the
dark side exactly. So, you know, maybe that would be it. Maybe if you focus too much in on it, it would be like, oh, he's just Darth Vader now, isn't he? He's just Anakin Skywalker, just trying to grab power to stop someone from dying.
Yeah, but that's not like, it's not a wholly original thing. Anyway, like I imagine there's the same thing in all kind of mediums, where the moral of the story is, if you love them, let them go.
Yeah.
Because in this instance, he couldn't save her, and he killed everyone. Literally everyone. So there was no good that came from it. But
well, unless he can, like, you know, you could sort of like beacon that out to like another Strange in another universe.
Potentially.
So, like, let's say that, you know, your MCU Strange, when he's there looking through all these various timelines to see how, you know, if you can possibly beat this guy. And then he sees like his other Strange, like, oh, what if I do embrace the dark magic, and what if, you know, would that help me? And then he goes, oh no, because this guy tried it and destroyed his own universe, so that's not a bad idea. Like, I'm not going to do that one. Yeah. So like, you could just do seasons and seasons and seasons of like, yeah, you want to do a what ifs show, all the variations of how the final battle with Thanos would go.
Yeah, let's see all those different outcomes.
Seasons of that. Yeah. I'd definitely watch that. Yeah. Just like, you know, Drax tripped over one of his knives and dropped it down a hole, but that landed on a bug, and then that flew up, and then it did like a whole butterfly effect kind of thing.
Star-Lord didn't freak out and just kept his cool for fucking 10 minutes.
Or he just put his gun in his mouth and just pulled the trigger and just bang, just gone. Like, what would that do if he did that? You know, what if Thanos changed his mind?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that those are sort of like bigger reaching questions than just, you know, what if someone just decided not to be an arsehole. Like the Hank Pym one was kind of good, but it just came out of nowhere though, because it was just like, oh, Hope was like a SHIELD agent. It was like, really? Why?
I mean, like, in that universe,
was she not in the MCU? But it was never led to that it was Hope Van Dyne, and until you get Black Widow going, it's Hope.
I think there's I think it was basically, we need to do a murder mystery, and we want it to be Ant-Man that's the murderer. What can we do to kind of provoke him? Because even her working for SHIELD doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. Like, people die a lot on missions, whether they're super powered or not, whether they have a super suit or not. So the fact that he went, I'm going to kill all the fucking Avengers, it was just like...
But they made a big point of, like, in the first Ant-Man, though, where, like, it's all the Shield guys there. There's like Peggy and Howard and whatever. And he's just like, man, I ain't giving you none of my fucking tech. You crazy? Like, I know what you're gonna do with it. And then like this is like Shield's A team.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, you get my daughter killed, I'm gonna kill you fucking people off.
Yeah, but I assume that it wasn't Shield's fault.
Let's just assume it was, or Hydra's fault, or whatever. I don't know. I think it's
one of the weaker episodes, so we'll see.
Yeah, I just think with each week I'm getting less and less excited for it.
I mean,
like with Loki and Wanda, I was just sort of like
different caliber of shows, though, innit?
I know, but when you see something like that, you just kind of expect the same thing again and again, I guess, don't you?
Yeah.
But maybe this Hitmonkey, like this looks like it could be quite violent and quite sort of like, so is this their first foray into like 15, 18 territory?
I mean, like, I'd like it if they took a cue, because it looks like it's going to be quite funny as well. There's some like comedic bits in it.
A bit Deadpool-esque.
Yeah, I'd say like look at Harley Quinn, the animated show, not the movies. Take a leaf out of her book, and not as manic and like gratuitous as that, but that kind of style. I think you'd be on for a winner with something like, especially something like Hitmonkey, which is kind of like really, really like completely outfield, and out of all the characters that they could have chosen, because I thought we were getting a Howard the Duck show on Hulu.
It seems they're pushing him a bit more.
Well,
maybe this is it. Like some of the characters that they're just testing the water with, just to see what the response is. Because like, if you're saying, how about we introduce Hitmonkey into Loki or into the MCU in some variety? Firstly, no one's going to know who that is. Secondly, to like CGI a monkey and like doing all the cool Hitmonkey stuff, that's going to be expensive. So
Disney.
If you just test the waters and you go, this is a character that we're just sort of like, sort of seeing how people react to, and people go, that's a great show.
Because it'd have to show up in Deadpool. If this is successful, he'd have to be in the new Deadpool film.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just any fucking maniac psychopath.
Yeah,
just murderer. Yeah,
I'd like to say, because it's your Deadpool fans, they'll be the ones who are like, it's Hitmonkey. He's in quite a few Deadpool stuff. But everyone who's seen the Deadpool movies is a Deadpool fan, even though they've never read any fucking comics. So they go, hey, he's got a pet monkey now.
Oh, he's got a chimp sidekick.
Yeah. Which I know we could talk, because we've already said we don't know a great deal about Hitmonkey, but
no.
We can pretty much reel off every other fucking Marvel character, so we've got that behind us. But so very much looking forward to it. But obviously we'll have to see as and when it starts. Have we got a date? I want to say October or November.
I didn't catch it, if I'm honest. I think it just sort of took me off guard so much I couldn't really pay attention.
Let's have a quick look.
Well, I think we
Hitmonkey
got
TV show.
The MODOK trailer.
November 17th.
Yeah, it was a few months, I think, before it actually came out. So.
Oh, no. Yeah. November 17th, Hitmonkey. So.
It's only a couple of months. It's not too bad.
It was basically October now, isn't it? Back end of September.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah. So that's not bad at all. But I haven't really got anything else, Dan. Have you?
Oh. I was going to say yes. Oh, wait. Did we talk about the PlayStation announcements?
No.
I think that was afterwards, wasn't it?
Last week, wasn't it? Bear in mind, it's 1:45. Just so...
That's fine.
We might have to do a pause.
What now?
No, not now.
Oh, right.
I'm going to do a clap, though, so I can... So when we come back in, just say, oh, PlayStation. I'll go from there. Okie dokie.
I didn't hear that.
That thing's got up, so...
Did it? Yeah, okay.
So it's got... Fucking, I can't remember the noise. Like a noise gate on it, so...
Oh, anything too loud, it'll just stop. That's cool. Okay. PlayStation. There was a PlayStation announcement thing last week.
And State of Play.
Yes. So it fell at the unfortunate time of just being just after a podcast that we just recorded. Yeah. We didn't do a special on it because we thought we'll save it to now.
Yeah.
But there's a few games in there, Callum. I know that I don't own a PlayStation, nor do I have any intentions of buying one. But I had a go on Miles Morales when I was at yours the other week. You know, it still seems as fun and as good as the first one as I remember that being. But there's two games in particular that are very unlikely for me to be able to play. One of which I'm sure that you're going to be very excited for. So we had. So what was it? What was the first? Was it just Spider-Man? The PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game? Was it just called Spider-Man?
Spider-Man 2.
No, ding dong.
Oh, the original. The first one's just Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Spider-Man 2. Yeah. So Miles Morales is its own thing. This is the sequel to the first Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2's like Uncharted Lost Legacy, where it's part of the series, but it's its own little thing.
Yeah, so it looks like it's Peter and Miles, and Venom has been shown in this one as well, which is kind of cool. But it looks like, I reckon this is going to not necessarily tie into, but it's going to be quite reflective of this new No Way Home film. I reckon there's just going to be a whole myriad of baddies in there,
maybe?
like Venom being your biggest.
Oh, yeah. I got you, yeah.
I think it'll just be some sort of like.
I mean, they did that with the first
kind of
one. They did the Sinister Six in the first one.
They touched on it, but that was sort of like everyone was just sort of
all the villains. They were all part of a team.
That's what I mean. But they were just coming into their own. But then if you start to get, your Venoms involved and, some symbiotes and, extend that rogues gallery out a little bit more, maybe, that could be quite fun.
You got another big heavy hitter in there. Kraven the Hunter.
Really?
Yeah, that's the guy doing the voiceover.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Did you not know that was Kraven?
No. I was too busy watching what the fuck they were all actually doing.
Yeah, he's the one talking. He's like, he's on about prey and stuff, and he's like, I've longed for a challenge.
Right. Well, yeah, I definitely wasn't paying attention to that then.
And I think it could be you. And he's like, yes, we could. And then he comes out of the shadows.
Right, okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely Kraven.
That guy in quite a lot of sort of old school Spider-Man games. Yeah, definitely.
He's got a film coming out, hasn't he? With Quicksilver.
Apparently.
Aaron Johnson.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Excellent choice.
But we've also got a Wolverine game as well, which kind of came a bit out of left field as from Insomniac as well. So I imagine it's going to be similar in combat sense. So it's just going to be, wild slashing sort of things, but
bit R-rated.
Yeah, well, which is good. It needs to be, frankly. But what I think really sells the Insomniac Spider-Man, I'll just say games as they stand at the moment, is it's this huge city that you can swing around in, you can interact with things. How do you think that's going to work with a Wolverine game? Is it going to be that same kind of open world, or do you reckon it's going to be a lot more confined and a lot more condensed?
I don't know. I'd be happy with a Last of Us 2 size world where you're kind of tricked into thinking it's open world. You've just got these real big areas transitioning in through cutscenes and that, just to navigate your way through. Like Tomb Raider, when you shuttle through a space and it's like a little loading screen to get to the next part. As long as the story's good and the gameplay's good, I'm fine with that. I'd equally love an open world Wolverine game where you just jump on your bike and you just tank around. But the thing open world games suffer with is dead worlds. All open world games, GTA included. And Spider-Man gets around that because you're swinging around the city and you can do really cool things. But if you just walk around the city, it's a bit... And like Days Gone gets around it because you ride around and, hey, look, there's a fucking horde of zombies. Hey, look, there's some bandits. Hey, there's something happening for a good portion of the time. But with a Wolverine game, oh man, imagine a Wolverine game, but it's in like Canada. So it's kind of like Days Gone, So you got your forests and your mountains and that kind of scale. Yeah, that's what I want. I just decided.
Well, what do you think this is going to be then? Do you reckon this is going to be a precursor to an X-Men game? Like, is this going to be, this is going to be Logan sort of... Because it still seems, reasonably kind of modern day in that bar that it's in. So,
I would assume
that he's already found them.
This is probably we're going to get like an Insomniac verse for Marvel characters. So maybe he's either joined the X-Men or he's left the X-Men or he hasn't met the X-Men, and we will get an X-Men game further down the line. Well,
if there's going to be some other X-Men or other Marvel characters that are going to cross over into this, who would you like to see? Let's take Spider-Man as Red. Like,
yeah, they're going to show up.
Potentially, they may show up in it, sure. But
they'd have
outside
to,
of that, some other newbies, not bad guys to bring to fight, but characters that we may already know.
I mean, obviously, you should take your pick of any of the X-Men. Will suffice, really. Purely for gameplay stuff, I suppose Deadpool would probably end up making an appearance in it, even if he's not playable or he's
I think he'd
part
have a similar kind of combat style, for mechanics.
Yeah, so you basically just
shooting
and stuff, and you got your katanas and your scythes and stuff. Because I mean, the Deadpool game was really fun. Put that in there as well. Maybe I'd quite like to see Magneto, but again, obviously that's assuming he'd be in there as a villain. But that'd be kind of like, in Arkham with Mr. Freeze, you got to mix up your play style, and that would be interesting. That kind of boss fight with Magneto. So you've gone through 30% of the game just slashing the fuck out of everyone. Get to Magneto, now you got to be clever, because if he sees you, he's just gonna. That'd be cool.
Well, he wouldn't need to see you, would he? He'd just feel where you are.
You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be it's a video game. They've got to give you something to to be able to win, haven't they?
Yeah, I guess.
So, I mean, I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know who I'd want to show up. I
think like Cyclops would be a good villain for him to fight.
That's what I mean. Like in terms of your video game, if they go like Blue Team, Gold Team, like in the X-Men comics, that'd be really cool. So,
but I just think like if either the X-Men are dispatched to sort him out, or if, like you say, he's been with them and he's left, but he's kind of gone a bit rogue, maybe. You're not going to get Hulk. You're not going to get Hulk in there, mate.
No, but then they do it like Wolverine's first appearance. They're still using
him in fucking Crystal Dynamics.
I mean, they're still using
Square Enix. Sorry, for the Avengers game.
Because that'd be cool.
If that street works both ways,
no chance.
Have Hulk, have everyone. I want to get Wolverine in the Avengers. 100%. That'd be amazing.
Never gonna happen.
Well, this is what brings me to my next point before we touch on the final game that was announced that we were interested in. But as I've been saying for a few years, we've had not an increase necessarily, but a slow, steady drip feed of original PlayStation exclusives. So, like you mentioned, your Days Gone, your Horizon, your Beyond Human. We're also getting not the Nathan Drake collection.
Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy.
Yes. So we're now getting some.
The two last ones.
Shut up! I'm making a point here. So now that there's things that you've vehemently said before, like Naughty Dog, nothing of that is coming to PC.
That's not what I said. I told you it
was only a matter of time.
That's not what I said at all.
You absolutely have done.
That's not what I said. What I said was you won't be getting the new stuff, which is exactly what happened.
You said that any Naughty Dog properties.
That's not what I said.
You definitely said that before. Not like in the last 2 weeks. I mean, like years ago.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about, but like I can't remember what the game was at the time. But you had not Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain. You're like, yeah, but great, that came out like fucking at the time, like 10 years ago or whatever it was. Then you had Horizon, that was already really old. So it's always gonna, as soon as they started putting the PlayStation games on there, it was never a case of, so like Wolverine, you won't get this, like that won't come to PC for fucking years and years and years and years and years. Same as Spider-Man. God of War, anything like that. It'll be.
Well, I don't think God of War would.
You'll probably start looking at like the remastered collections and stuff.
If that's the case, then that would still be fine. Like if it was just sort of like, it's the Last of Us collection that I get in a couple of years, I don't mind waiting for that.
I will be surprised if Last of Us jumps across. I'd be
that's
very
the thing,
surprised.
Like your tent poles, like your new, like especially the new God of War and Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Those are going to be like, oh man, these are games that people will buy this console for.
Yeah.
But the previous God of War trilogy doesn't matter. You could emulate that shit if you wanted to, so like those sort of things, and like the original, like the first 3 Uncharted's, that's got to only be a matter of time as well. I reckon that what they're doing at the moment is they're testing the water to see how much more money they can make by releasing this to a PC market.
It seems,
and then I reckon that things like that will gauge what else will come over. Are we going to get Ghost of Tsushima? Is that going to come over as well? Do you know what I mean?
Potentially.
So I want to see. Again, I'm a realist. I know that it wouldn't be, a timed exclusive necessarily, but I want to see the Spider-Man collection or like the Marvel collection that comes over to PC from Insomniac, maybe. So whether that's Wolverine and any tie-in games to that Wolverineverse, and any other X-Men games, and then any of the Spider-Man games that are made from it. If they just all get bundled up and then shipped over or something like that, I think that sets a good precedent for the kind of things that we could look forward to expect.
It's obviously always the potential, but with the exception of Horizon, everything that's come over has been a dead franchise. So there's no more Uncharted. That's it. Uncharted's done. So there's not going to be any new ones. So it's waited since the PS3 up until next year or whenever it is that it's coming out for those games to come across. I forgot who made them. Quantum Dreams collection, like they're all one-offs. So like Beyond and Heavy Rain and all that stuff, they all came out on the PS3. So with the exception of Horizon, which has got a new game coming out, they're all just stale franchises that get an extra bit of money back from putting them out, but you're not going to see the same amount of sales that you got originally.
Well, no, of course
these
not.
games,
but that's not the point. It's
no.
to try. They're getting extra revenue from people that they know either chose not to buy their hardware or just didn't have the option to buy it. Maybe,
and that's why I think I don't think you'll get the Nathan Drake collection. I think that's.
But surely with things like Game Pass, though, like it makes way more sense. Like if you're thinking purely financially, it makes way more sense to buy either an Xbox, or if you've already got a PC, to not buy a new generation console and either just you spend some money to just upgrade what you've got and go for Game Pass, and you've got that whole array of games that are tied up in that.
I still think the smartest decision is to go PC, PlayStation, whatever, Nintendo. That's your smartest setup because you've got everything then. I don't know, that's assuming everybody's got money to fucking burn. But
well, that's the thing, and the majority of people absolutely
no,
won't.
they don't. But people I don't have money to burn, but the reason I always buy a PlayStation, for the most part, I always have your PlayStation, your Xbox, your Nintendo, and I haven't got a Series X yet, but I probably will get one. Once games stop being available on the Xbox One X, I'll get a Series X. Just go from there. Because there are still games on there that aren't on PC. But if I want to play God of War, I've got to have a PS5. If I want to play the new Pokemon or Mario or whatever, I've got to have a Switch. So I'll always buy those because I know some people will, but I don't want to wait potentially 15 years, if not longer, for it to maybe come out on PC. And if it does, it's at the end of the franchise. You're lucky because obviously you have played the other Uncharted's. I think there's only really Lost Legacy and 4 and Lost Legacy you won't have finished.
I don't know if I've still got them, but 2 I played the absolute living shit out of.
2 was amazing.
1 I definitely had. I don't remember if I've still got that or not. Probably. The PSP one I didn't have, whatever that was called.
No,
something or other.
It was on PS Vita. Golden Abyss.
Golden Abyss. Yeah, that's the one.
Which I did have. I've had every single Uncharted game, and I finished every single Uncharted game.
Yeah, but 3, I don't think I even finished. To be fair,
Yeah, I know you definitely had it because we got it the same day.
I've 100% still got it. It's just that it's yeah, I haven't touched it for about 5 years, 6 years maybe. But yeah, so 4 and Lost Legacy would be the only ones that I'd even be potentially interested in buying anyway.
Which they are the best ones, but also
it's kind of. Sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say, bear in mind, Lost Legacy is the equivalent of Far Cry Blood Dragon or Far Cry Primal, where it's the same game. They've changed the map a little bit, and there's a different story, and you play as a different person. So you play as Chloe instead of Nathan in that one. Still a good game, and I still enjoyed it, but tell you what is shitty. Fucking Sony. So if you buy a PS5, you get access to the PS Plus collection. So you've got like God of War 4's on there, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, like loads of top bill PS4 games, Days Gone. So if you didn't have a PS4 and you bought a PS5, you can play all these games on your PS5. It's a real good little thing. And Uncharted 4 was on there. Since they announced this fucking remaster, it's not on there. It's unavailable, as it says on the store.
So you've got to wait for the remaster now.
Yeah, you'd have to buy it. I mean, I don't. I've got the game, so it's irrelevant to me. But I saw it the other day. I was like, cheeky fuckers.
Well, this is the thing, though, isn't it? Like, if you haven't got it within the first year or so, I'd say you're probably not that particularly bothered about it.
That's what I mean. That's what strikes me as odd, that they've gone Uncharted for the first time in history, not including PlayStation now. The first time in history you can play an Uncharted game on PC, but it's the last 2. So if you want to know the whole story,
well, why wouldn't it
buy
be
a console?
But unless they're doing a remaster of 1 and 2, maybe.
They already have.
Like, so what they did with Mass Effect. So
yeah, they
touch
did
them up, make them.
It's called the Nathan Drake collection.
For PC though.
No, not for PC. But that's all they did. They just port that. It only came out like 2-3 years ago.
Oh well, then yeah, that'd be the one you'd be wanting for, really.
Yeah. So
but again, it's like this is why I'm still convinced that what they're doing is they're still just seeing what kind of market would there be if they started to cross some of these things over. You know, how much extra money could they make from this? Then they go for 4 and Lost Legacy, because statistically, if most people have already played 1, 2, and 3, because they would have had a PS3 or 4 or whatever before they'd finally settled on, actually, maybe this makes more physical sense, or maybe I can't afford every single one of them. So they think that there's like a certain portion of potential players and buyers that have never actually played, like myself, for example, have never played these, because once PC building and purchasing just became more accessible and not cheaper necessarily, but everything's a lot more sort of plug and play and universal, and it was just, you didn't have to solder shit and whatever, you just put a new thing in and it just works.
It's good to go.
So it's become more and more popular, certainly with like the lockdown. Like, we both know that like PC Specialist, shout out to you, who made both of our PCs, and quite a lot of my own friends' PCs as well, they have been absolutely rammed with orders, because people are either buying new PCs for work, or they're going, I've got nothing to do now, let's just buy a new PC. So now there's way more people than 20 years ago that are now primarily PC users. So if they market this to a whole sort of demographic that maybe they wouldn't have been able to capture with the newer games, maybe they say, well, odds are you've probably played the first 3, but here's 4 and Lost Legacy. If they get an absolute fucking shitstorm of people go, brilliant, where are the first 3 though? Then they go, okay, here's the Nathan Drake collection maybe, and that's 35 quid. Do you know what I mean? They can sort of.
I think it's always going to be
work.
Just sweetening the deal a little bit. So you've got, if you want to know the rest, you have to buy a PlayStation. The Sony are two into the exclusives, and like I say, with the exception of Horizon, you're not seeing. So like when Horizon 2 comes out, that ain't going to be on PC for another however many years, and that'll be the same with if God of War does come out, it's going to be God of War 3, and you won't see 4 for like 25 fucking years. Like,
I think there's things like Last of Us, God of War. I think they are just too big
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think there'd be as much benefit. But like I say, like, you know, a 15-year-old game franchise, why not?
Yeah,
that's money that you're not making at this point.
It makes loads of sense. And if I honestly think if Days Gone had have been more successful, that wouldn't have gone to PC. It's just because, again, it's a dead franchise. They're not doing anything else with it. They don't intend to do anything else with it. Even though it's great, and I loved it, but
if there was a big surge of people that were paying for that, though, and all of a sudden, you know, there's this huge revival for it, maybe that is what they use to take a new one off the ground. But it would be shared between the platform. Do you know what I mean?
But it's interesting, and like I say, I don't know Sony. Obviously, we just come off the phone, but they are too. If you want to play this, you've got to get a PlayStation.
I honestly think the next 5 years are going to be. I think that is going to be a template for how things are going to go. If in the next 5 years, things like Spider-Man, God of War, and Last of Us, if they all end up on PC, then I reckon that anything that they make is only going to be. It's only going to be a matter of time before then it's released.
Yeah, but
if we get to the next 5 years and God of War and Last of Us and that still aren't on, they probably won't ever.
Yeah,
that's going to be my prediction on it.
But they are your Insomniac stuff seems to be your new. These are your new Uncharted. These are your new.
Yeah. This is. Oh yeah. Well, these ones will never go anywhere. Yeah, you've got to come to us for that.
Yeah. Same as Mario. I mean, you've got your fucking. Some of your crossover stuff, like Mario Rabbids with Ubisoft.
Oh man, they went fucking ballistic for that.
It's just fine. It's a good tactical, like baby's first XCOM. It's fine, but like you're never gonna go. There's never gonna be a time where they go, "Hey, do you remember when Zelda Breath of the Wild came out on PC?" Because it's not gonna. It won't happen.
No.
And out of the two of them, Nintendo are less likely to do it than Sony are.
Yeah, but I'd say what's more likely, Breath of the Wild and the all the sequels for that come out on the newer consoles coming out on PC, or all the God of Wars. I'd be like £100 on God of War. Yeah, without a doubt.
There's a potential that Microsoft will just buy fucking Sony at some point and go from there. But
imagine that if they just went, look, we're sick of having this fucking console, whatever.
That's the last thing you want. That's the last thing you want.
Everything is just on Game Pass, and then everyone's like, amazing, Game Pass, it encompasses everything.
There's no reason to have Game Pass.
It's £55 a month. And everyone's like, wait, what?
There'd be no reason for Game Pass if they own Sony. Game Pass, like, do you honestly think if Microsoft hadn't fucked it up and they stayed,
we'd have this?
Yeah, Game Pass. Game Pass wouldn't exist whatsoever.
Not even close to its current form. No.
There'd be no crossover stuff. It wouldn't be fucking Play Anywhere. You buy this, you've got it on PC too. It would be, hey,
got a special deal with them. Yeah. Bethesda bought them. Yeah. No, we wouldn't be anywhere near that. They'd still be focusing on the hardware, definitely.
It's only because they're in the shit, and obviously Sony fucking steamrolled them all the way through the PS4, and subsequently they're still doing it through the PS5. And it's only because Nintendo's got fucking money for fucking absolute fucking years and years and years. It makes no oh well, Wii U failed. Oh well, make it smaller. And then that's what they did. Because out of all of them, Nintendo's got the most money.
That's true, but there is one final announcement that I've been banging on about for probably the best part of 10 years, if not longer, probably. That we are finally getting a Knights of the Old Republic remake. And I don't know if I want this.
I do. I'm honest. And I want it more just to annoy you that it's PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Timed exclusive, thank you. But that one is definitely timed. But I don't mind. Again, I've still got both of them. And I know that whatever this is, it's not going to be those two.
It won't be the same. I won't have the same feeling.
Story points and whatever, but an entirely from the ground up remake using the same story, the same,
Well,
plot.
no, we don't know that yet.
Dialogues. But that's the thing. I just don't see him doing it. I just don't think that they would remake something shot for shot.
Disney-fy it. Stuff will be changed.
I mean, if they're doing that just
Remember when Kreia put the mind into this guy's body, and he had this vision, and then 3,000 years later, somebody conceived the Knights of Ren, and it's going to tie in somewhere.
But this is exactly the reason why it doesn't need to, because it's so far before and so far removed from any of the events.
They've got to do something.
You have to have it
just to make it fresh.
But you've still got you've still got the Civil War, like the Jedi Civil War that happens, like the war for Mandalore and that sort of stuff.
Let me fight.
You've got
Mandalore.
But that's the thing. If they said it's going to be, instead of it being, Revan after the amnesia, and then that's when your playthrough in Cotter 1 begins, and then again in Cotter 2. What if this is your Revan when he's a Jedi originally with Malak? And then you make that decision to go and fight against the Mandalorians. And, at the end of the games when you get bumped on the head or whatever, and then you wake up on a ship, and then boom, that's when, original Knights of the Old Republic starts. If that's the case, then that's fine, because that can just be a totally different thing. Yeah. Same universe, same story, same character, leading in the same direction, but it doesn't have to necessarily be an RPG. It could be a Fallen Order kind of like, hack and slash kind of platformy, puzzly, rolly, whatever, because it would be something totally removed. If you're saying it's a remake, then it has to be a 60-hour RPG for 1 and then 2. If it's not that, you haven't remade it.
They're only making the first one, aren't they? We don't know what's happening with the second one yet.
Well, again, I imagine that if it's a, that
how successful
people have been, but then. Yeah, but then if you're doing a remake, that's usually the sort of is the franchise still like Mass Effect? They go, well, we've remade all the games. Is anyone into this? And everyone's like, all of us, and give us another one, please.
Or Skyrim.
Which is why we've got Mass Effect 4
or GTA 5.
but those are set. You know that when the next Elder Scrolls is out, they're gonna have to put one newspaper advert out that says, it released in October, and everyone will be like, sweet, we'll see you then.
There we go, we'll fucking believe it when we see it.
That's probably more likely, yeah. But with this though, I just don't want them to just, because if they say we're just going to remake Knights of the Old Republic 1, it has to be that. Yeah. If it's not, it will be a letdown.
I don't know, I'm open for change, but only if it keeps it fresh. I still think it's going to be an RPG. I don't think it's going to be a Fallen Order affair. I think they will do a Final Fantasy VII where they'll go at the start of the game, do you want to do this combat or do you want to do this combat? And you've got a bit more Kingdom Heartsy style third person combat stuff. If they stick with the stacking system, I'm fine with that as well. I like that. But I think I think for the most part it'll be the same story, but I think they'll change certain elements, even if it's kind of like the same outcome, but it's different enough that you go, "Ooh, actually, this wasn't in the first one," and then it turns out it's the same thing. They've just changed a couple of bits, and I'd be fine with that.
If they tweak, certain things that maybe they wanted to do originally or something like that, then sure, that's fine. I just don't think being able to talk to everyone, but the stacking combat and things like that though. If you imagine that was 20 years ago, and it was just sort of vroom, 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 but it still felt like it was a planned attack. Whatever. If they just said, well, we'll just carry on doing that same thing, so you still plan your attack out, but instead of it being it's a 1, 2, 3. Now you go 1, 2, 3. Now I'll go 1, 2, 3. But instead, it's it's still doing all the same calculations in the background of your strength is this and your agility is this, but it plays out like a little, almost like a cutscene that you're watching.
Yeah. So it's like a quick time event.
But not really in that sense, no. Who's that? Getting involved. Oh, sorry. not like it's just sort of press X to do this and X to block and whatever, but you'd still program in like, I'll throw a grenade now, or I'll use a force power.
Yeah, I got you.
Because like, maybe the movements and things that come with it, they're a bit more refined and a bit more seamless, and it gives you a bit more time to plan things out, that it would feel more like it's a seamless whole fight.
Yeah.
And then you take them down at the end, and then you move on to the next one, rather than just...
Which is entirely possible.
Now it's your go, now it's my go, now it's your go, until eventually one of you just grinds the other one down. Which, don't get me wrong, it still works for that game, but that is 20 years ago.
Not so much in Kyle. Like I remember, like, obviously you wasn't particularly happy that the combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake may not be turn-based.
Like the 15. Yeah, no, I wasn't particularly happy about that, no.
What always springs to mind is, I remember an interview...
Also, where's that on PC? In Square Enix.
It's on PS5.
Yeah, I bet it is.
But what always springs to mind with that is an interview. I think it was in Famitsu magazine, and this was years and years and years ago. And it could have been when one of the Kingdom Hearts was coming out. And essentially, the combat you see in Kingdom Hearts and like the new Final Fantasy is what they would have done had the hardware been around, like was capable of doing it at the time. Obviously, it wasn't. So they went with a more, obviously, the turn-based system everyone's come to grow and love today. But I do think, me personally, as long as it doesn't impact the... I'm big on story and obviously gameplay above all else, really, because if it's no fun to play, it's not a fun game, no matter how good it might be. But as long as the story's got the same level of impact, and I don't think it will. I remember it was like 4 a.m. when I finished Knights of the Republic 2, and I'd been playing it all fucking day. I was coming up to the end, playing it all night. Coming into the next morning, I was fucking... You know how tired you was when we were playing Unravel 2?
That's a spoiler for anyone who's...
No. It'll be up before this podcast goes up.
Oh, okay then. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was knackered.
But like that, but probably worse. And spoilers for Knights of the Republic 2. You know when the Ebon Hawk gets... When Kreia takes it down, everybody fucking dies. I remember standing on the edge of the thing where it had gone, just trying to use force powers to bring it back, and I was just like, so angry that Kreia had killed my fucking, like, she'd killed my fucking handmaid and she'd killed fucking Atten. Like, everyone who was on that fucking ship was dead. I was like, fucking right. Stormed on. And I want that again. So even if that means I've got to do Final Fantasy combat or like Kingdom Hearts combat, fucking Tekken, make it a fucking side on fire. As long as I've got the same level of, like, I feel like I'm really attached to the characters, which I think is important for all RPGs. If I'm playing a game for 60 hours, I need to be invested, and I don't think there's a better way of doing it than with a good story and good characters. Gameplay, I can get adjusted to. I'm open to change.
I can't see him doing it. I just can't see him putting... Like, I know that they say, this is a huge thing for this studio to make it.
This is their first big game.
Yeah, they've done, I think it's like multiplayer stuff, I think.
They do mostly ports, including Knights of the Republic 1 and 2.
Was that the mobile?
Ported it to Android and iOS. Which I will say, are very good ports. Very, very good ports.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can make something from scratch and make it as good as that.
I will wager, after the shit show that was Battlefield 2, and not shit, it's a good game now, but when it first came out, and even some of the lukewarm reception that...
Well, EA is not involved in this, are they?
No. But I'm saying, Disney are very... Right, you're not doing that anymore, which is why they haven't got Star Wars.
Right, yeah.
I can't see them. I reckon they've gone, way before this was announced, they've gone to this studio and gone, show us what you can do. Just give something, just anything.
Yep.
What can you do? And I reckon they've already
said, look, whatever money, resources, we've got all these studios or whatever. We'll help you out if you need, all your original assets from like all the original LucasArts games, all that kind of stuff, the dialogue, whatever. We'll give you all that. You can touch it all up. So if that's the case, and they say we want to make this as close to the original, but things that maybe we couldn't have done. So flying the Ebon Hawk,
Yeah.
Like, that was something, like, in RPG, especially, like, in Mass Effect, like, I've got to drive around on 1,000 planets on a stupid bloody thing looking for mineral deposits or whatever, and yet you won't let me fly the Normandy.
Yeah.
Even just in one bit, in like some, even Halo and Call of Duty do that these days, where you're just like, yeah, we'll give them one level where they're just in a big spaceship and just fly around blasting stuff.
Planet side.
Why can I not fly the Ebon Hawk?
But that's what
20 years ago, you've got all your story and all your character because you didn't have anything else that you could really offer outside of what we've already seen. That's fine. These days, though, I expect to be able to jump into that cockpit and just woo and fly off.
That's what still disappoints with most like Battlefield, Battlefront. Like if Planet Side 2 can do land to air combat for free, then these multi-fucking pound organisations churning out fucking
multi-pounds. Oh, they've got so many pounds.
Multi-million pound organisations. Why can't they do it?
£43. It's because it's trying to get as many people to buy it for the lowest possible cost, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
so
again,
if you want to make this incredible experience,
but what's lower than free? Again, if Planet Side 2 could do it for very minimal fucking return.
Well, I imagine they'd get like advertising or investors.
It will,
or,
and obviously that's
aesthetic purchases.
Yeah, you've got like in-game transaction and stuff like that.
No doubt.
But if they're gonna put that in Battlefront 2, then put me fucking land to fucking space battles in as well.
Battlefront 3 originally, that's what it was supposed to be. Like you could go from space down to ground. And it was just like one huge combat arena.
But back then, that was far too. That was very optimistic to think that they could do that back then. And I know there's like demos of it kind of working, but it's
what it could look like. Yeah.
But can you imagine?
Ambitious. I'd say that these days, yes, you could 100% do that.
You can.
Like you could make it look obviously as good as Battlefront. Because like, don't get me wrong, you can't take anything away from the visual and the sound design for the Battlefront games.
I could honestly just sit and play like wave modes of Battlefront 2. Just listening to. I'd get some good headphones on. I remember when I first played the first Battlefront, and we had the beta on PC, but I also had the beta on PlayStation 4.
Right.
And playing that with at the time I had the 5.1 surround sound setup. Oh, it was phenomenal. Like having fucking TIE fighters coming up behind me. It's the sound design is fantastic graphically. Even the first one now still looks really good. Not as good as Battlefront 2, obviously, but like I say, visually and sound, there's really good games, and they did a good crack at a campaign with the second one.
I'm still a bit annoyed that there was only one additional episode of campaign stuff that came along with it.
Yeah, they could have done.
I expected it to just be once every 6 months there'd be a new bit and then a new bit and then a new bit or whatever, because this was all canonical as well.
Yeah.
But it just feels that since with Disney, with the acquisition, and they just want to cut every loose end and just have complete control over everything.
Which I can't blame them to some degree.
No, but
because
I
it gets it out of EA's hands.
Anything to get it out of EA's hands, that's fine. But I think with with this remake thing, because that's the thing, it's not a remaster, it's a remake. This is
ground up, entirely
new. Yeah. If this is what we thought it was 20 years ago, how it looks, how it feels, then that's going to be the benchmark, I reckon. And they're going to go, okay, any other Star Wars game that comes out now, it has to be like this, to feel like this, it has to have this kind of reception and make X amount of money or whatever.
We said years ago.
If it's a half-assed attempt at it, and it just sort of bullet points roughly what happened in the first one, they give about as much of a shit as EA did.
This'll be it's got to be good, or Disney don't want to make it, and obviously everyone's clamoring for some Knights of the Old Republic remake action, and they go, see ya, it's shit, don't fucking ask us again.
It's like when you do the washing up badly. Well, I won't do it. I won't do it again.
If you're not happy, then leave it. Here's a full 60-hour Ray RPG. But I remember on a podcast years ago, many episodes ago, and was basically saying, Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2. Give us a remake that looks as good as Battlefield 2.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that, and I would. But
today, I'd still be happy with that.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that that's all they could do.
No,
I don't think they'd say, here's everything that is in the original game. However, we've also, like, all those cutscenes, they've all been remade from scratch. They all look amazing. They look better than the movies do, that kind of quality. All the dialogue, all the stuff that we wanted people to do in cutscenes and dialogue, rather than just being stood here going, yes, I'm also a Jedi, and blah, 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 blah. Yes, and I'm also like all of that. It's way more natural. It's it's like we get mocap people in, we do all that, and you can those like on rail turret shooter sections, like shooting down things. That's all gone now. You're flying the whole ship, and you can choose between the guns or what. You still got all your companions, but then we've thrown in a few extra ones that maybe they're going to be like, no, we did pretty much what you remember from it, but. Some of the levels, maybe they're not there anymore. Like, maybe a couple of planets, they're not in there anymore. That's what I reckon they're going to do. They're going to strip out all the superfluous stuff and just focus in purely on just Revan and the development of Revan. I don't think that they'd be prepared to do anything more.
I would be.
I'd happily go into it thinking that they're going to 30% it, maybe.
Yeah. And then be nice
and then they go,
it's
125%, and go, this is everything I ever wanted. Yeah. Maybe that's what would drive a Knights of the Old Republic 3 and get a sequel to the original 2. I just don't trust these big game companies to take
that's the beauty of
old properties and
this I can't remember the name of the company now, but the company's doing
like
a something
here or something. Yeah, I can't remember.
I remember they got a star thingy in the logo, but
they got a cool little logo. Actually, it looks quite nice.
But this isn't a big company. So this is their time to go. We want to be up there with it, not up there with EA, but like we want to be as well known as EA, Rockstar, Insomniac. I mean, look at Insomniac. Insomniac were a small fucking company.
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, I mean they fucked it, but they got toppled from that throne. But
I don't think that was their fault though. I think that was all of our fault.
No, that's marketing's fault for pushing it. Like, say there's some of the interviews you can have with some of the interviews you can read and watch, and most of the employees of CD Projekt Red were like, we told them. We fucking told them that it wasn't ready. But it was no. I mean, it's mentioned in our interview with
mate
Chris. completely went, and we also mentioned it with Todd as well. That's what companies do, and your big people at the top who make the shots, they go, well, is it got Darth Vader in it? And they go, yeah. And they go, well, it's finished. So get it out. But
can you play it from the start to the end and it just reasonably works? Yeah, done.
That's what EA have been doing for 30 years.
Yep, and look where it's gone. FIFA.
I mean,
they don't need to do anything else, do they?
What do you play most weeks, Dan?
At the moment, FIFA. Escape from Tarkov.
Oh no, but you've been playing FIFA a lot.
I've been playing a lot of GTA, if I'm honest. I'm trying to get back into and making some sweet moolah.
You know what I started playing last week? Well, started replaying last week. Mafia 3.
Right, the new one.
The newer one, yeah, with Clayton. The one in like
the remake of.
Yeah, in like the 1950s.
Yeah.
Not as good as I remember.
I remember playing that at yours, I think. You had it on PS4, I think.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, it was a good game. It's just, but like, so I was in a gun battle and there's no roll button. Can't like roll out the way and anything like that. So in GTA, you aim and press square and he does a roll. None of that. That was really annoying. He takes about 2 shots and he's fucking dead. And because he's the size of a fucking tank, you're quite hard to hide behind cover. So,
yeah.
But it's fine. I booted up and I had a notification saying I'd got like 6 loads of DLC for free. I was like, cool. But yeah, so
actually, I do see that pop up every now and then, and on Steam, like as suggested whatever.
As long as you don't go in thinking, man, this is going to be like GTA in the 1950s, because it's not. It's not a good version of GTA, but nor does it claim to be. But yeah, it's fine. And then I watched Matrix Reloaded at the weekend. Well, I finished watching Matrix Reloaded because I've started watching with Zoe. I went, man, I really want to play a Matrix game, so I installed Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. So like, I want to play a Matrix. Yeah, I want to play a Matrix game without playing the shit Matrix games.
It's either that or Max Payne 3.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good call.
I every now and then I get a hankering for Max Payne, and I
still looks
go crawling
good, man.
back to 3.
Still looks
honestly, it does. It still handles
3,
perfectly well as
not
well.
1 and 2. They look dog shit.
I haven't played them for forever. I don't think I'd want to, frankly. I think 2 is still available on Steam.
Yeah, I've still got 2 for PC, and I remember the doors being way bigger than I fucking remembered.
Oh no, all of them are on there.
Yeah, I mean they're all on there, but I don't think I've got the first one. I had the first one on my uncle built me my first PC.
Guess how much it is for Max Payne? Oh right, okay, I was going to say. Well, it's Max Payne 2, and Max Payne 3 is 40 quid.
Fuck off. That's outrageous.
I mean, Max Payne 2, when did that come out? 2003. And you want to get people paying 40 quid for it? You can fuck right off.
Bear in mind, Max Payne 1 and 2, my uncle built me a PC, and I had Max Payne 1, and I remember seeing it like a gaming magazine. I was like, that looks really cool, and then my uncle got me illegally. And then Max Payne 2 came out, but my PC wasn't good enough, so my uncle like upgraded my PC, and then I got that. So I mean, fucking hell, that's like the same year the fucking Sims first came out.
Pretty much, yeah, like early 2000s, yeah.
And even like Max Payne 3 was PlayStation 3 era.
Yeah, I had it on the 360.
Yeah, I had it on PS3.
Max Payne 2 is the only one I haven't played. Did I tell you what happened when someone bought me Max Payne 2?
Yeah, the wrong disc in it or something.
Yeah, it's Max Payne 1 was in it. So it's for the 360, and so I would have bought it for my birthday or Christmas or whatever. And I was like, oh my god, Max Payne 2. I played Max Payne 1 a billion times. Opened it, it was Max Payne 1 inside, and I was like, I don't believe it.
Was it Max Payne 1 twice? There are 2 discs.
No, it was the box for Max Payne 2.
No, but I mean, did it have 2 discs of Max Payne 1?
I was
to make
like
Max
double
Payne
ill.
2?
Yeah. No, unfortunately, not even that clever.
You've never played the second Max Payne?
No, I didn't. No, I just skipped straight past that, and 3 must have been out by that point because again, I got it for 360.
I mean, 3 is the best one, but 2's the best story. Yeah. By far.
I'm not paying a tenner for it. I'll tell you that much.
Have you still? You haven't got a disc drive, have you?
No, I'll get it off GOG or something maybe because they did.
I've still got the original.
A whole bunch of Star Trek games, original classic Star Trek games, came out on that the other week, and I was very excited.
Yes, I've been told.
I didn't go mad. I only bought 2 of them.
For now.
But that's still a lot more than I ever expected to spend on Star Trek games again. Well, I think Armada 2 is out. It just said TBD at this point, or TBA. So I'm also going to be buying that for about 9 quid as well.
Fucking hell, that's still too expensive.
It feels it, doesn't it?
Fucking is.
The fact that it works. Oh, did I tell you I got the website changed for Bridge Commander? Yeah, we were together when it happened. Oh, well, I mentioned it on the podcast, but basically when I got an email, I don't remember signing up for if this game or a game of this kind become available, send me an email or whatever. I don't think I'd done that. It must have just been some random marketing thing. But it's for Star Trek Day, which is a couple of weeks ago, I think. And they said that, we've added a bunch of classic Star Trek games to GOG. So I was very excited by this. I told you about it.
So I got my drink stuck to my glasses.
It's fine.
That bit of the lid.
Oh, shut up! So then there was a couple that I've had, like Elite Force and Elite Force 2. You found me those online because they're just, it's like dead game websites or whatever. And they still, as far as I'm concerned, they're still great. It's just running around first-person shooter. You know where you stand with it. But Bridge Commander is one that I've been after forever because it has voice control, and think sort of like Bridge Crew, like the VR thing, but instead of just having like an individual console that you would just take over and it'd be like fire and like turn around and whatever. It was like a whole, you could talk to the crew, so you could be like, helm, set an intercept course, and then it would just all fly after it, and it would just so you didn't have to click on things and do things. You could just talk, and it would just do things for you.
That's
and
so cool.
This game popped up on this GOG thing. I was like, I'm getting that. Like, I have to. And it's like £9 or whatever it was. I was like, I resent paying that much, but I haven't been able to play this game for about 15, 20 years maybe. Like, I have to be able to play this again. Bought it, downloaded it. Obviously now, great PC, got a microphone and everything. Back in the day, didn't have one, which is why I couldn't have, done it all back then. Get to the, your options menu or whatever, and it's just, I was like, okay, where's the sound calibrator? Does it need to like check my voice to make sure it's working, or do you need to say like test words so it recognizes your voice, or how's that going to work? Oh, it's not in there. Doesn't matter. It'll just be programmed in.
Yeah.
Play, go through the thing, and I'm just like, helm, helm, warp, helm, and I'm just like, where are the commands? Like, I went back into the options again, nothing in there. So emailed GOG and said, am I missing something? Am I stupid? Or words to that effect of just like, am I just being an idiot here? But I can't get the voice commands working. And then they emailed back and said, yeah, we actually advertised it with like the voice control thing on the store. But after we've looked into it, it turns out that like, when you bought like the first party disc, it would have like the inbuilt voice, stuff control stuff. But for a third party release of it, it doesn't come with it. So we're really sorry for any inconvenience. We've taken it off. We've updated the website. So if you go on there now, it'll say like in little letters at the bottom, it says like, yeah, the voice control stuff it's not actually a part of the game anymore. I was really devastated by that. It was literally 20 years ago whenever it came out. That was why I was so excited, because you could just sit back and just, command from the chair.
You know what the worst thing about that is, though? Not the fact that there's no voice command in it. The fact that only you noticed, which means you were probably the only person that bought it.
Fine by me. I'm just doing my due diligence for everyone out there. Congratulations, everyone. But I'm hoping that there's more older stuff that's coming through, but I don't want a remake of that. I want the old classic version of it. It's great.
You've kind of got one with Bridge Commander, haven't you? Or Bridge Crew, whatever it's called.
Bridge Crew, yeah. Again, though, I've got that, obviously, but
I do want to play that in VR. That's like the only Star Trek game I want to play.
Well, this is the thing, man. Back in the day, like, in the sort of late 90s, early-ish 2000s, Activision, man, they were just churning them out. Anything that was like a popular genre at the time, they were just firing them all out. These days, we've had one movie one game that's come out that's like a tie-in for the J.J. Abrams movies. Star Trek Online, which is still kind of pootering along, but it's an MMO and doesn't obviously look amazing or is anything outstanding in that sort of sense. There's like a couple of mobile games that I reckon. That's it. There's just not been anything new. And
yeah, but what are they going to do, realistically? You're not going to have like a Fallen Order or a Battlefront 2-esque game.
Sorry, my fucking phone is still bleeping at me. Not necessarily.
Sorry, I think
no. Yeah. I don't know, because like they did quite well with just sort of going, what's popular at the moment? Age of Empires? Yeah, sure, we'll do one of them. Commandos? Yeah, we'll do one of them.
Small Soldiers?
Small Soldiers?
I was just naming stuff from the 90s. Do you not remember that film?
Yeah, of course I do. I had the fucking PlayStation 1 game, mate.
Shit, wasn't it?
Archer. Pew, 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 pew.
What was the soldier's name?
Tommy Lee Jones.
No.
I can't remember what his name. Like Corporal Dick Cheese or something.
That was it, Corporal Dick Cheese.
But I remember they were all powered by lithium batteries. They'll run forever.
Yeah,
because people didn't know how batteries worked back then.
That was the tagline, wasn't it?
What, lithium batteries?
They'll run forever. It was Man, I can't remember his name.
It was just Sarge just about, wasn't it? Because you could in the PlayStation game, you could only play as the Gorgonite.
Chip Hazard.
Couldn't. Chip Hazard, of course it is, yeah. But you couldn't play as the soldiers, which,
No.
as far as I was concerned, they were the cool ones.
No, but they were the bad guys.
I don't care. What, so I've got to go with the fucking hippie monsters?
Yeah, because the same reason that in the Toy Story game you play as Buzz and Woody, not Sid.
I'd happily play a Sid's Rampage sort of thing where you just got to, like...
But like nowadays...
It's toy torture devices.
You'd probably have it. Do you want to be a Gorgonite or do you want to be a soldier? And you
Yeah, the online multiplayer. The battle that we've all been waiting for.
Small Soldiers,
Small
the
Soldiers
revival.
sequel coming out? Yeah.
Imagine if all this
That's not-
time it's not a Knights of the Old Republic. That's just like the... So you know, like when...
Project title.
Yeah. So like Dolphin was the... Like GameCube was the Dolphin and stuff like that. This is Carter. But it's Small Soldiers.
Yeah. The biggest, most shittest prank of all time.
Oh,
like,
There'd be a fucking outrage.
I might have to. Like, I'm surprised that film hasn't shown up on like your Disney Plus or whatever.
I remember
Disney
really
Star.
liking it, but I know it's not good.
They
They're kind of like capitalising
Kirsten
on...
Dunst in it.
Kirsten Dunst is in it, yeah.
Yeah, she's like the girlfriend of the
lad.
love interest or whatever of the lad. Who was I always figured him as being like he was gonna like skyrocket to the stars, that fella. Like he just looked like he was gonna be sort of like a teen heartthrob kind of movie star. And I don't remember him being in anything after that.
Has he?
I don't know. I can't remember who it is. It's like I'm sure it's somebody he must have been in like, you know, like your 90s sitcoms or whatever.
Let's have a look.
1998.
Small Soldiers cast.
Good grief.
Alan
Abernathy. Yeah, Gregory Smith, there he is.
Yeah, he's been fuck all done.
So
He's been in a lot of
filmography,
things, but nothing.
He did, Small Soldiers, Wrinkle in Time, but not the Oprah version, like an old 2000s
Oh, he was
version.
in The Longest Yard.
Hobo with a Shotgun,
That sounds familiar.
In My Pocket. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't exactly gone
He's
skyrocket.
been in two things I've heard of: The Longest Yard and The Patriot.
He's directed a couple of episodes of Arrow and The Flash
Oh.
and Supergirl. So he's keeping his head above water. Good for you, mate. But I don't know, he just had those sort of like 90s good looks, you know, for like a... You know, he'd be just in 1,000 Disney films from that point onwards.
Yeah. Obviously didn't.
Yeah,
So-
I want a new... after this, I'm gonna YouTube the gameplay for Small Soldiers because I bet it looks
well,
absolute dog shit.
why don't we do a Small Soldiers retro shenanigans special? It's technically retro.
It is from the 90s.
We can
Yeah,
move
all
on.
right.
We can move on from the
I'd
SNES.
happily... Oh, I didn't think that was possible. I thought we had to play every bloody game that was on it first before we got there.
I mean, we're kind of like scraping barrels at the minute. But
I thought that was the point there. Jeez.
yeah, but there's way more worse games on PlayStation 1 and then 64, Sega Saturn.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't just sort of drop in and out of them very quickly. Like your SNES ones, like
Yeah.
you warm up, you could play like I usually do, about 5 minutes of it and go, I hate it, and then just leave it. But with Small Soldiers, you know, you've got a cutscene and a story, and you've got to get through the tutorial before you can actually go in and do anything,
Well,
and then go, oh, this is shit.
Why don't we do a long play?
Mate, I don't want to do a long play of the Small Soldiers game, right?
We tried it with what was the Bond game we did? I'm sure that was a PS1 game or a PS2 game.
Oh no, that was PS2. It was Tomorrow Never Died. No,
Oh my
Everything or
god!
Nothing.
Everything, give me everything or nothing at all.
yeah, it's a great song. Great song, great game.
I mean, it's
Willem Dafoe back again, mate. Actually, with No Time to Die is out relatively soon. Am I going mad, or there is a James Bond game in the works, isn't there? There is someone doing like an untitled, undefined.
IO Interactive Hitman.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. They're just doing. something Bond based,
Yeah.
which could be amazing. It could be
Until
absolutely
then, though, we've got the
bullshit.
Quantum of Solace game we can play.
No.
Or the GoldenEye remake. It was on
What,
the...
in Legends?
No, they did a GoldenEye remake on the Wii. But it replaced
I'd rather
replaced
play the one that's sort of made
Daniel
in
Craig.
Far Cry.
No, replaced Daniel Craig. Replaced Pierce Brosnan with Daniel Craig.
Yeah, but they did the same thing in
Legends.
007 Legends as well. It was like the opening dam mission was the same.
And
but it was...
Bloodstone. James Bond Bloodstone. That had Daniel Craig in.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
No, not really. I'm just saying. I'm just naming Daniel Craig Bond games.
Well, don't. I want to go.
Okay, let's go. So yeah, thank you very much, Dan. If you want to check out more stuff, you can go to the website. Everything's going along the bottom right now. It's www.podcastversusplayer.com, and there's loads of there's let's plays, animations, game shows, lots and lots of things, including some new stuff that's gone up over the last week. I had a pretty good upload week last week. I've been
well. We're going to have a
target.
very good recording week this week, Callum. So, is there anything in particular that you either want to or know that we'll be recording this week that you can tell people about?
Wanking Simulator.
I've just found, I'm not joking, Power Wash Simulator, which sounds like the same thing, but it's definitely not.
Have you not seen that? I've seen that quite a bit up on the YouTube.
I tell you what, mate.
I'll get it and we can do it if you
I
want.
love a good pressure washer.
Tell you what, Dan.
And it's overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
Nearly 10,000 reviews, 97%.
You can get different attachments for your jet
You
wash.
go to Mars and power wash the Mars rover.
Yeah.
I love the look of that.
Well, I'll get Wanking Simulator, and you get
Right.
Jet Wash Simulator, Power Wash Simulator.
Sure.
That
Why not?
simulator. What else we doing? We're going to do some more, possibly some more Surgeon Simulator. There's another episode to go up of our Let's Play of that, but we'll probably do some more of that. Can't think of anything else that we got planned, really.
I was
Winging
hoping
it.
for like a quick fire sort of like, the highlight reel of what's going to come this week. That's why you stay tuned.
I mean, I can tell them the
good
stuff that's going to be uploaded, but not what we're recording.
I'd say forget it. No, end it there. Forget it.
Bye.